Tulsi Gabbard, the Democratic U.S. House of Representative out of Hawaii, made national news earlier this year when she renounced her position as vice chair of the DNC to support Bernie Sanders for president. So many progressives throughout the country took this move, and they loved what she did because, around that time there was a lot of talk going on about the DNC.
Yeah, it kind of legitimized the idea that the DNC wasn't being impartial.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So she took a bold move. She took a bold move to come out there, and like I said, and even after that, there was talk about how there were some insiders, Democratic insiders, that said, "Don't do it. Don't do it. You don't want to do that. You don't want to ruin your career."
And I think it was kind of seen as a very noble move,
right?
Because of that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. And when she did come out in support of Bernie Sanders, it was on the issue of foreign policy. She doesn't want us to get involved in these perpetual wars. She doesn't want regime change. She's against Western imperialism, especially when we're talking about Syria as well. She's against that no-fly zone. So foreign policy was, the issue that she talked about all the time. And she always talked about the cost of war, the real cost of war. So now that Donald Trump has won the presidency, she took up a meeting with him to talk about this issue. And there's some thought that she might actually be in the cabinet, that she might get a position
in the Defense Department.
Yeah. So it's kind of been received in different ways. Some people, I guess, don't like that she may team up with Trump, Team Trump. Some people think, well, hey, if you're doing the right thing for the country, I guess it doesn't matter.
But I think naturally it will call into question, who she is.
Yes.
And what is your position on, who she is? Do we...
See, that's where it gets tricky, because ever since she did endorse Bernie Sanders, she has been described as a progressive. She's and especially after Bernie Sanders bowed out of the race and Hillary Clinton became the nominee, and even after she lost, the election to Donald Trump, there's been a lot of talk about Tulsi. 2020,
yeah.
Her being, the nominee for the Democratic Party. So we'll have a real progressive running, and she can take that progressive torch. She's this new progressive beacon.
But you think there's some speculation concerning what Tulsi represents?
There's some questions.
Okay.
Like I said, when she came out in support of Bernie Sanders, really all we heard about was about foreign policy.
So there was this assumption, since you support Bernie Sanders, that must make you what he is.
I think that was the rush to judgment.
Okay.
But if you take a look at her past, like I said, there are some questionable actions. In 2004, when Tulsi Gabbard was in the Hawaii Congress, the state Congress, she had opposed a bill that was advocating for civil unions. And not only did she oppose it, she actually protested against it and held up signs saying that she was against the bill, against civil unions. Now, if you fast forward to 2012, she had, come around and she was now for gay rights, gay marriage. And I believe that's where her, her stance is now. It just so happens that in 2012, it lined up with her running for U.S. Congress. So, it does seem that maybe that could be political expediency.
Right.
Another issue that I might have with it too, and I realize that people do evolve. They change their positions, but to be on that extreme, to oppose civil unions,
and it's not
marriage equality,
not just oppose, kind of be out there on the front lines.
On the front lines protesting it, to be on that extreme, but then to come around and now you're in support of marriage equality. I mean, that's a pretty wide gap.
I would be okay with, I guess, a certain level of political expediency if that translated into, let's say, bills they sponsor or a way they vote. You know what I'm saying? I'm cool. I'm okay with it if it actually plays out in their, I guess, political career from that point on. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I don't know. Like I said, it's a question at least. It's a question at least how she got to that point to support marriage equality, coming from a place where you didn't even support civil unions. Because if we remember, even Hillary Clinton, now she was against marriage equality. There are many clips of her saying that marriage was between a man and a woman, but I believe that she was for civil unions. So, like I said, it's just a big gap to make up. So there's some questions about it. Also on gun control, in 2015, when there was, the Senate Democrats, the House of Representatives, the Democrats there were staging a sit-in, and Chris Murphy from Connecticut, he filibustered the Senate because they wanted some action. There was a lot of different measures that they wanted passed. It could be background checks, it could be closing the gun show loophole. There were a number of them. But Tulsi Gabbard did not co-sponsor not one of these bills. Not one of them. But she did take the time to pose for a picture with Chris Murphy on the way to the Senate floor. In some kind of show of support or something. I don't know. It's just kind of odd. It's just kind of odd.
You're using the word odd, but it's actually kind of contradictory.
Yeah, that's another word you can use.
That seems like something that is kind of suspicious to me. Like, why would she kind of like take this photo op when she didn't support any of the measures? You know what I'm saying? Why would she take this photo op with almost a lead?
Yeah, if you're not supporting
the measures, like that just
like I said, there's a question about that too. So, and then so if we get to the meat, because this is where she makes her living on foreign policy. So when she came out in support of Bernie Sanders, really, I believe, elevating her to the national scene, because it wasn't too long too much before that I had even heard of her, really. She was saying the right things about foreign policy and what we need to be doing, what we don't need to be doing overseas in terms of our military. But if you rewind the tape back to just last year, 2015, she was talking about radical Islamic terrorism.
The danger here is, again, that you're not identifying the threat and you're not identifying the fact that they are not fueled by a materialistic motivation. It's actually a theological, this radical Islamic ideology that is allowing them to continue to recruit, that is allowing them to continue to grow in strength, and really that's fueling these horrific terroristic activities around the world.
In all honesty, it's like that's taking a step further to say radical Islamic ideology,
right?
Not just terrorism.
Not terrorism, ideology. So if you say that,
you're making it about the religion then.
That's right.
Because if you say what's the ideology? ISIS is very intolerant of any other views.
Yeah.
Even views of people who are Muslims themselves.
Exactly.
They kill more Muslims.
They kill Muslims.
Than, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Than any other group.
That's
so
right.
It's like, so what is the ideology? The ideology is indiscriminate killing and terrorism.
Mm-hmm.
That's the ideology of ISIS.
Right. So
but if you're saying that's the ideology is Islamic, regardless of you can't be like a radical killer.
No, you're either a killer or you're not.
It's no minimal, there's a minimal killer, a moderate killer, and then a radical killer. Right. You're a killer all the way. So if you say it's the ideology, it doesn't matter if you say radical or not. It's still going to kind of cast a shadow on the religion itself.
Right. And this is where I agree with President Obama on this issue. At one point, he had described why he doesn't say radical Islamic terrorism, and he says he's not going to legitimize what ISIS is, because if you say that they're a radical, they're a radical form of Islam, then you're saying that really they just tweaked Islam a little bit, and they're still Islam.
They just amped it up.
They just kind of changed it a little bit, but it's still Islam.
But to say you amp something up, you're still saying that it's there.
Yes.
So the next step would be
true.
to say the problem is the theology.
See, there are millions of peaceful Islamic people all throughout the world. People that do not support what ISIS is about. So why are you going to say what ISIS is about is Islamic? Why would you do that?
The same way the Christian Knights of the Ku Klux Klan is not Christianity. And a lot of people's religious beliefs is kind of cultural. You know what I'm saying? So they take their culture and try to like shoehorn it into a theology. And so that's what ISIS has done. So it would be unfair to kind of paint a broad brush on all Muslims like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, it would. Yes, it would. The same way it would be to paint that brush on Christians, right?
Yeah.
Now, okay, so, I mean, we went into depth about this. This was 2015 when Tulsi Gabbard said these words. Now, 2016, I haven't heard her say that. I haven't heard her talk about radical Islamic terrorism. I've heard her talk about what needs to be talked about in a way that it should be talked about. So I don't know if she is now changing up her rhetoric a little bit.
But
if she's leaving it out, I don't know.
But I don't know what she said since then. But it would seem to me that
if she's not saying it now.
That was on Fox News, right?
That was on Fox News.
Well, more than likely, she got a call from Trump's transition team, probably because of those statements.
I mean, that's not beyond the realm of possibility.
They wouldn't just tap her for no reason.
Yeah. And like we said about the gay rights, the marriage equality issue, if that was about political expediency and, when she was supporting Bernie Sanders, she wasn't having those words come out of her mouth about radical Islamic terrorism. Maybe that could have been political expediency as well.
So you're saying that
because it wouldn't have been conducive for her to say that while supporting Bernie Sanders, it wouldn't have gone together. You know what I'm saying?
You said what? She's against the Syria no-fly zone?
Yes. She
okay.
is.
All right.
But Trump is too.
Okay. They could be against it for different reasons.
Oh yeah, they could. No doubt. The whole point is Tulsi Gabbard a progressive? I mean, she certainly has some progressive positions. Are they rooted in what she is and who she is? I don't know.
That's a good question.
That's a really good question. I really don't know.
Yeah, we're not trying to establish who she is.
Yeah.
We're just trying to kind of show how people shouldn't jump the gun.
Right. And just give her
this label.
That exactly. That torch to be like, okay, this is our new progressive champion right here. I don't think she has the history for that.
No, she doesn't.